Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Elise. If you're new here, I make sustainability content, much like today's video. So something I've been wondering personally is, are clothes that are made from recycled bottles actually sustainable? And the answer might surprise you, because initially you think, well yeah, it's recycled material, of course that's great. Are these too much? These might be too much. I'm gonna take them off. Anyway, personally, I think you just shouldn't even drink out of a plastic bottle. I have a Hydro Flask. First and foremost, let's discuss that. It's safer for you, cleaner, fresher, more refreshing. Just get yourself like a reusable bottle. So that's my PSA for today. But no, actually, like, it's a really good question, because honestly, top of mind, you think like, yeah, of course, like, it's recycled, so how can it be bad for the planet? But there's a lot that goes into manufacturing and shipping and distribution that you might not really be that aware of, and I kind of want to dive deep into that. So I did go to fashion school, LOL. Then I also finished up my bachelor's in environmental science, so I've kind of seen both ends of the spectrum, on the market side and also on the consumer side, environmental side. So I just want to share my thoughts with you, give you a nuanced take, because honestly, anything in the sustainability, environmental justice movement is going to be nuanced, and if you don't look at it through that lens, you're gonna have a very tough time finding the best solution for yourself, or if you're a business, your consumers, those sorts of things. Not that any businesses are watching me, but you never know. Also, it's hot chocolate as a meal season, so I'm gonna have my little coffee mocha as we dive deep. So, first question, how are clothes made from recycled materials? That is a great question. First and foremost, if you're interested in like plastic recycling at all, there is this 4-part docu-series on Netflix called Broken. The first episode is about plastics. I highly recommend you watch this, and then maybe come back to this video so you have a better idea of what I'm talking about. But I'm still gonna try to break it down for you as best as I can. Only certain types of plastic are genuinely recyclable. There are types 1 all the way to 7, but really only 1 and 2 are truly recyclable, in the sense that they're marketable, they're profitable, people are going to reuse those things. The American Chemistry Council, which is aka Petrochemical Council, made up the system essentially to kind of like imply that every plastic is recyclable, when that's simply just not the case. So a lot of these plastics that are pumped out from the global north, aka the United States, are then shipped to places like China. China said, we've had enough, we're not taking your plastics, and now they're kind of like flooding like Southeast Asia and just inundating areas with tons and tons and tons of plastic waste. Some countries and places have capitalized on this, like Taiwan for instance. Taiwan has a government certified facility that does take in these materials and does recycle them and does resell them for use for more manufacturing. But it's worth taking a look at where these plastics come from in the first place. That's all I'm saying. Because in the United States, only about 9% of all plastics created are recycled. But for plastic bottles and jars, 29% of that is recycled, which is an increasing number. Like, that's great. These are 2018 statistics, and that's like nice and lovely, but maybe we should just like stop producing them in the first place. I don't know, crazy idea. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So what happens is these bottles that are able to be repurposed are melted down.
So to explain this a little bit further, the plastic is melted down into like these tubes of plastic. Then it's cut up into these tiny, tiny little chips, and then the bags of chips are shipped away to factories that can be melted down to literally anything else that you want. So that's how that works. I didn't explain that last bit there.
And then shipped out to manufacturing places that can then reuse this kind of like new melty plastic and like respin it into yarn, or along with other kind of materials. Then you have some other recycled materials like acrylic, nylon, and polyester that, just as the material that they are, can be recycled, much like cotton and linen, except for the fact that they're fossil fuel based versus just natural things from the earth. A few brands I'm going to talk about just because for me they're most top of mind and like prominent, and kind of like the green sphere and the influencers I follow. Number 1, Girlfriend Collective. Their leggings and their bras are made from type 1 plastic bottles. They also have a light leggings brand, which is made from recycled fishing nets. Then you have Allbirds, which is organic and kind of like regenerative agriculture materials, along with some recycled materials. Then there's a huge distributor, Primark, which I thought was huge to note and see that they have 39% recycled materials and more sustainable materials. And then a brand that I personally reviewed, and it's a swimwear brand, so it's kind of different, is Vitamin A. They use a recycled nylon and lycra blend, but then they also have plant-based fibers that they spin their swimsuits out of. So just kind of give you guys a comprehensive range of how it differs from brand to brand, and not necessarily everybody that's using recycled materials needs to stop. It's bad for the planet. Yeah, just to give you a rundown. Girlfriend Collective is pretty transparent on their manufacturing processes, but I will say their wording is not very accountable. They're kind of like dancing around that they still are polluters, and that's just how it is. Fashion pollutes the planet, and like there's no escaping that, there's no getting around it. Allbirds takes a much more accountable stance with the issue. They own up to the facts, they recognize them, and not only are they doing what they can to be climate neutral, but also climate positive, and they're also funding things like wind projects, solar projects, regenerative farming practices, those sorts of things, to not only be like neutral but climate positive and spread their impact. Primark is not doing something like that, and I will say Vitamin A is like local based, or is US based, so that's a huge help. Moving on from how these things are made, let's talk about how they're shipped. That's a huge, huge, huge thing when we're talking about manufacturing and shipping and distribution. So it's great that these brands are taking this unusable material, this essentially landfill waste, and diverting it and then creating value out of it. That's amazing. But you have to think of how much energy, fuel, and transportation time that takes to get from this unusable material to this product that's then manufactured to your doorstep or to your local retailer. There's a lot that goes into that. These shipping processes simply are wasteful because they are global. If they were to be local, it would be a bit of a different story. But because it's something worldwide, you're having it go overseas just to ship your recyclable material overseas, then have it manufactured and processed, then have it shipped back to your factories, made and manufactured there, then shipped to your distribution centers, then shipped out to consumers or retailers. That is just so much back and forth, when if we were to take the process local, it wouldn't be so wasteful and it wouldn't emit so much carbon in the air. It's kind of like all of that for a pair of leggings, a pair of tennis shoes, I don't know. So shipping, huge, huge issue when you have a global supply chain. But moving on from that, so you have your recycled plastic leggings and you feel great, you feel like an eco warrior, you're doing something amazing, but you might be shocked to find out that you're still shedding microplastics into the water system. And that might not make you feel so good, okay? So I understand you feel duped. Like, okay, I thought I was doing this amazing thing for the planet. Here I am, still contributing to waste somehow, some way. And it honestly, in my opinion, might even feel worse because it's not to a landfill, it's literally to our waterways. And there's a few things you can do to prevent that. There's something like a microfiber, kind of like Catch laundry bag, called like a guppy bag. I'm sure there are other brands out there, but that's kind of like a temporary fix for when you're just wearing them out and about and they're just shedding. And that's my biggest issue, is that it's any petroleum product is going to shed microplastics. It doesn't matter if it's raw, virgin, whatever, or if it's recycled and repurposed. It's gonna shed no matter what. Just stop fucking using fossil fuels. That's all I want to say. That's like, should be the title of this video. Should be the title of this channel, really. It's just not a permanent fix for the issue. Inadvertently, these products are still creating more demand for plastic overall. While it's for a recycled version, you can't have recycled unless you have the original. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like what fossil fuel companies want. They don't want to be phased out. They don't want to be forgotten about. So they're going to greenwash and market this more sustainable option of plastic, recycled plastic. It's still plastic. Chemically, it is still the same thing. The only difference is that it's been put into the right, correct bin and not ended up in a landfill. It's still creating demand, even if it is being repurposed and recycled into clothing. It just brings a question, are these clothes actually sustainable, or is it just another greenwashing gimmick that I have fallen for? And maybe you as well. Honestly, it depends. Just like anything else, it depends how much shipping is being done, how much manufacturing waste there is from the dyes to the fabric itself, and how much it needs to be then again moved around from the shipping factory to your wardrobe. Then these materials, are they going to shed microplastics and then end up in a landfill anyway, just because of our consumer behaviors and the way we take on so much and throw it away just as quickly? So it's kind of just like adding a lot more carbon to the atmosphere and whatever by shipping all this shit around, and then it still ends up in a landfill because you decide in 5 weeks that it's not your style anymore. No offense. It happens. Like, that's just how we're kind of conditioned and trained. And then you have to ask, is the company just making this product, or are they actually taking steps to be climate neutral and climate positive and funding kind of like green tech or running off of renewables themselves? There's just so much that goes into it, and I really find that it's easy to do the research on the more sustainable companies, and I appreciate that they're transparent so then you can make these informed decisions, but it's still a lot of hoops to jump through and then kind of judge and weigh out. Like, honestly, I'm gonna stop buying leggings from Girlfriend Collective. I was kind of like, I have like 3 pairs. Am I gonna throw them out? No, do not throw them out. If you're like, oh my god, they're shedding microplastics. Yeah, well, probably so is 70% of whatever else you own too as well. So don't throw them out. That's worse. Okay, but like, honestly, in my eyes, maybe I'm gonna go for the more expensive like organic cotton or plant-based fibers, or go to the thrift store and buy them secondhand. There are plenty of other options out there rather than kind of like feeding into this demand of this petroleum-based product that just is not where we need to be right now.
It sounded like I'm saying Girlfriend Collective is a bad option. No, it is a good alternative to something like Fabletics or Gymshark, but it is not the most sustainable option out there, is kind of what I'm saying. And that goes for any other brand that is just making things out of recycled materials. Is it actually sustainable, or is it just a more sustainable alternative?
In my humble opinion, I think investing in the more... Okay, well, as I was sharing my humble opinion, my camera died, so rude. Anyway, let me finish up this video. So as I was saying, in my humble opinion, I think our best bet for truly sustainable clothing in the future is by going back to those organic, natural fibers that the earth so willingly gives us, such as cotton, linen, hemp, and I'm sure there's plenty more. We're like humans, we can make things and be creative, so why not do that, but without plastics? I think recycling plastic is a part of the solution, but it should not be so big that it continues to fuel demand in these recycled material clothings. Like, that just cannot happen. Otherwise, we're just gonna stay in this mess. But yeah, that was my humble opinion. Glad I could share that. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a great big thumbs up. If there are any other topics you want me to dive deep into, get into the nitty-gritty, do a little bit of research for y'all, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do so. Don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet. Like, subscribe, share this video with someone who's super into fashion, likes to learn about sustainability as well, and I'll catch y'all in my next video. Bye. It's the props for me, really. I wish I could have kept these on the whole time, but I look like a bug right now, so that wouldn't have worked. Ah! Just kidding, it didn't spill because it has a top because it's a Hydro Flask.